Good afternoon and welcome to Topologies in Autodesk AutoCAD Map 3D. My name is Stan Henne. I'm the Business Development Manager here at CAD1.
You're going to love what I did to your picture here in a minute because you sound just like
him. and to my left and your right is Warren Geisler, our spatial technical specialist.
Spatialist.
Yeah, exactly. Him.
Yeah.
The guy on the run.
The GIS guy. Thank you all for joining us today. We're going to be talking about topologies if you're using AutoCAD Map 3D or Autodesk Map 3D or Autodesk AutoCAD Map 3D. As Stan said, my name is Warren Geisler. I'm the Training Center Manager here at CAD1. I'm also the geospatial dude, the GIS guy. And as you see with the picture there, let's see, get back into my presentation here. Of course, normally that's how I look when I wake up in the morning, so usually that's how I feel, and especially when I haven't had that many beers around here. As Stan just demonstrated as he started to talk, that's how Stan looks most days as he's going through the day.
That's right, especially as we get to the end of the quarter.
That's right. And after 2 or 3 webinars in one day, so we're both feeling a little bit crazy today.
Can everybody hear us? We're getting a couple comments that the sound is not so good, so hopefully everybody can hear us. Raise your hand if you can hear us all right. Looks like.
Well, we've got one.
Warren, do you have your mic turned on or anything there?
I've muted me. I'm pretty sure I've muted me. Yep, I've muted me, and that should be the only microphone over there. So,
well, we'll hope that the trouble dies down and that we get out of the box. Most of you have been on a webinar before, so kind of like fastening your seatbelt on an airplane, you probably know how to do this stuff. But if you want to minimize the console, it's a little orange and white arrow now, but you click on that and it pushes it over. If you want to raise your hand to tell us that you can hear us, you can raise your hand. And most importantly, if you want to ask a question or make a snide comment,
well, if you want to ask a question, how's that?
Yeah,
I don't know about the slide comment part.
Well, so far so good. Type it in the question box there, and we'll try and get it answered as quickly as possible in context as we can. So
and I'm going to go ahead and lower everybody's hands.
There we go.
To make sure everybody can hear us. And I'll try to talk up a little bit. For those of you who know me, I do get warmed up, and I'll start talking a little bit louder here as we go along.
A little bit louder and a little bit faster.
There you go. So I started putting this topology together some time ago because in my CAD GIS class, one of the things that I don't really get around to teaching is AutoCAD topologies using the AutoCAD Map software. It's a tool set that's been around for, 100 years inside of AutoCAD Map, and it's not one that's really widely used. So frequently I get asked, well, why is it still there? Why would you actually use it? What would you use it for? And there are actually a couple good reasons that you may want to use topologies. So for those of you attending the webinar today, you're going to get some good reasons and some good information for why to use topologies. For those of you who have taken my class and I gloss over it and I said nobody uses topologies, well, I apologize. How's that?
Or you topologize.
Or I topologize. So as most of you know, if you sat in on my webinars, the first thing I like to do is I like to show off, some definitions, explain what topologies are, maybe show some examples and some pictures of topologies. Unfortunately, I didn't start putting this webinar together, the presentation together, until a little bit late. So as I started to put this stuff together, actually last night, I went up to Wikipedia and I started downloading definitions, and then I started typing in other definitions, and this was pretty late at night that I was doing the PowerPoint presentation, and I was kind of losing it right about there. So then I also went down and started looking for some good examples of topologies, and you all know that I love having the pictures come in, and somewhere in building all the images, I just completely lost it and said, I'm not doing any more of this. I did, for a moment, actually think of, throwing in something there for a distraction. But if you came to the webinar expecting a lot of information on PowerPoint, well, guess what? I'm not going to do it. I'm actually just going to jump right into the software and say, heck with the PowerPoint, because PowerPoint was just too boring late last night. And I decided, let's just shoot from the hip and show you guys what this can do and what it's good for. So when I talk about topologies, I'm just talking about the relationship between all the objects. But here's what the deal is that AutoCAD Map allows you to, where's my mouse? Hey, there's my mouse. AutoCAD Map allows you to create and manage topologies inside the Map Explorer pane of your map task pane. So that means that everybody with AutoCAD Map and everybody with Civil 3D, you can all do this. Most of the time, well, let me back up a little bit. What topologies are good for is just showing the relationship between all these objects, like if they're parcels or, whoops, wrong one, Control-Tab. Or if there are lines, like a sanitary sewer line and sanitary sewer manholes, showing how they're all connected, showing if I get a blockage right about here, how many people are going to be really, really ticked off at us, and we have to go fix their stuff. So that's what the main purpose behind a topology is. It's just showing the relationship between the objects. Now, years and years ago when Autodesk first started building up the AutoCAD Map tools, and you might remember all of these tools, these cool tools inside the Map Explorer, they were trying to turn the AutoCAD drawing format into a good GIS tool set. Since then, though, it's really been replaced with the display manager and being able to connect to data and work with somebody else's data and do a lot of cool things with GIS data. So not a whole lot of people think about these tools anymore. Well, let me give you 3 really good examples of why we would use topologies, how you're going to build them, and what you'd really do with them. So here's example number 1. How many people out there, don't bother raising your hands, just think about this. How many people out there have drawings with a lot of line work representing something like a parcel map? And this is a pretty big parcel map. But think about subdivisions or projects that you might do or anything where you've got easements, parcels, right-of-ways. Now, granted, yeah, if you've got Civil 3D, you've got all those great tools where you can build Civil 3D parcels and you can put them together and then you can export them as an SDF file. But what about all those other people, and you know who you are, who are just using AutoCAD lines like this? Well, at some point, you're going to want to get this into a GIS format. You're going to want to export it. You're going to want to bring it into Civil 3D, maybe. You're going to want to export it. You're going to want to give it to a city or a county or a state, some kind of municipality, and they're going to say, hey, I really want you to use this neat command called map export, and I want you to take your parcels and I want you to export them into a shapefile. Now, first things first, I'm going to completely digress. Not like I've never done that, right, Stan? Never digress. I'm going to completely digress. Those of you on 2014, specifically, those of you who have Civil 3D 2014, or better yet, the Infrastructure Design Suite 2014. Well, if you have not loaded up any service packs, then get out there and do so. The reason I'm saying this is because there are several commands inside of Map, and even a couple inside of Civil 3D, and even a couple that are inside of AutoCAD that are broken because of things like the Civil Object Enabler. This is one of them. So if you have Infrastructure Design Suite 2014 and you launch AutoCAD Map and you try to do what Warren's doing right here and you say, hey, this is really cool and I'm going to do an Esri shapefile and I'm going to export my parcels, and you hit OK, absolutely nothing is going to happen. This dialog box just dismisses itself. It sits right back here, and you're going to go, hey, what the? And you're going to get really angry after you do it about 3 or 4 times, and you're going to start kicking things. You're going to call up Denny or Jennifer, and you're going to scream at them. So let me save you the time and energy of doing all that. At the Autodesk website, there are some service packs. So you want to get up to the Autodesk website. You always want to come to our website, CAD-1.com. Wonderful website.
Yes, you do. And there it is. And it's wonderful.
It's wonderful. You want to go up to the Autodesk website. Now, I know a couple of you are asking a question in the back of your head, so hang on, because I know the question that you're asking. So let me show everybody.
How do you know these things?
Not Autodesk.
That was excellent.
That was, whatever that wasn't it.
Joel!
It broke our website. Okay, so in the Autodesk website, that was really odd. The Autodesk website, under support and documentation, you can find your product. Like I'm going to go down here to Map 3D on the left-hand side, click the knowledge base, and check it out. We've got Map 3D 2014 Service Pack 1. You go to Civil 3D, you'll also have Civil 3D, Service Pack 1, and I think there's even one out there for AutoCAD. Download this service pack and install it. Excuse me. I don't have any water today. Normally I have water in case I start coughing, but those of you who were with me in my last webinar might remember that we had a little accident with my water and my computer. So I'm sitting here with a brand new laptop and no water. Stan's going to kill me here. I'm not allowed to drink water.
Go get you one.
See, if it was a beer, this wouldn't have happened because I've never spilled beer in my life. So anyway, download and install the Service Pack 1, and then you won't have problems doing what I'm about to show you, which is exporting to a shapefile. Now, what I was about to say, there are some of you who are saying things like, hey, wait a minute, I can just come right here at the top of my screen under Product Updates and click that and see if the product update will run. Well, here's a little bit of a bug in the new updates. During the course of installing an update through this tool, you must remember to shut down, and you'll have to manually shut down your program. Because if you don't, there's a little window that's going to pop up, and the little window is going to say something along the lines of, hey, AutoCAD is still running, and Windows Explorer and a couple other things. Do you want me to automatically shut them down for you? Guess what happens when you say yes? Absolutely nothing. It tries to shut the programs down. It doesn't. It rolls back your download and your update, and then you're going to have to start all over again. And after you've done that 3 times and gotten angry, you're going to call up Denny and Jennifer, and you're going to start yelling at them. So once again, I'm here to save you all that frustration. So don't, for the time being, if you do use this tool, as soon as you start to do the download process, please remember to manually shut down your program and anything else that's running. Otherwise, go on up to the Autodesk website right here. Download the service pack manually and install it. There you go. Now that we've installed the service pack, I can use my map export tool, which I like to just type in. So I want to export some parcels so that I can bring them into Civil 3D as a shapefile, or maybe I could do an SDF file you'll see here. So I do a shapefile, or somebody's asking me for a shapefile. I'm going to export the parcels. That's a dialog box that's missing if you don't get the service pack installed. So here's the thing, is that what type of object do I want to do? I want to do a polygon. I want to send these all out as polygons. I want to use a particular layer. There, my tax slots. I'm going to say select. I'm going to go to my options because Warren has showed me this before, and he's told me I need to check this box, treat closed polylines as polygons, otherwise nothing's going to go out. Closed polylines. When I hit OK, and I look down here, I'm going to be a little bit disgruntled because I obviously have many more than 3 objects. So what gives? Well, here's the problem. These aren't closed. These aren't single closed polylines or polygons. I mean, obviously, if I've got a parcel map, I have one line that separates 2 parcels, right? I don't have a whole bunch of closed polygons in here. So how the heck am I supposed to get this thing exported? Well, you could just ignore the rest of this webinar, use a command like bpoly, and pick inside of each one of these areas, one at a time, 10,000 times, and build polygons. That's not something I think I would recommend. Or you could create a topology and export the topology. All the topology is going to do is it's going to say, hey, all of these polylines in here really should be connected, and they do represent parcels. So I'm going to put them all together as one big database. To create a topology, it's a pretty straightforward process. I'm just going to right-click topologies. Remember, everybody, I'm in the Map Explorer tab. If you try to find this through the Display Manager, you're going to be looking for a long time. So I'm in the Map Explorer tab. I'm going to tell my program I want to create a topology, and then I just follow the wizard. You know that AutoCAD's got wizards, right, Stan?
I was thinking of a witty line, but you beat me to it.
AutoCAD has more wizards than a Harry Potter book.
Yow, you're killing
Yeah,
it today,
I'm killing
boy.
it today. So I'm going to type in the name of the topology. See, I've got to do something. You know why? Because I didn't do a PowerPoint presentation, so I got to make it up somewhere.
Well, try somewhere else.
Okay, so parcels, my name, my description. I'm going to hit next. I'm going to tell the program what it is that I want to include. Now you'll notice that when I go to build a topology using parcels, I've got three things that I have to select: the line work, the nodes on the line work, and centroids. So I'm going to show you what you need to pay attention to and what you shouldn't be paying attention to. So first of all, the links. That's required. All of my line work is coming off of one layer, and that's it right there, one layer. So select everything off of that one layer. Next thing is it's asking me for nodes. This is something that you can all skip. Nodes are just little blocks that are on the endpoints of each one of my lines. And I don't have any nodes. Nodes would be good for what I'm going to do in a little bit with the sanitary system. But I don't have any little points on the endpoints of all my lines here. So I'm going to ignore those. I'm going to hit next. It says, do you want to create any nodes? No, I don't really want to create any nodes. This one is important, centroids. It's going to build the polygon topology. It's going to put database information right in here somewhere. If I don't have something in there, the program will be more than happy to create them for me. So I'm going to select everything on the centroids layer, since I've already got those in there. If I don't have anything, if you don't have anything, don't worry. Tell the program to please go ahead and create them. You can use AutoCAD points. You all remember AutoCAD points, right? And you can even tell it what layer you want it to go on. Here's the best part, though. If there are any drafting errors in my drawing at all, that's never happened to anybody out there. No drafting errors ever. But if there are any drafting errors, the program's going to stop for a second and it's going to tell me that there are drafting errors. Things like duplicate objects and incomplete areas and broken polygons and all of that, that's going to keep me from actually building this. So I'm going to hit finish. Uh-oh. And there's an error. And that's what I was talking about. Warning, there's an error. Don't know if you can see the cute little yellow. We'll hover over that for a second. The cute little yellow markers. And I'm gonna,
The triangle of enlightenment.
the triangle of enlightenment, I like, or the triangle of death. Either one. It says that that link does not belong to anything. I've got a drafting error. Yours may have more than one drafting error in there. So what happened? This link that goes from endpoint to endpoint, it says that it doesn't actually belong to a polygon. I'm saying, yeah, it does, but whoops, drafting error. All right, somebody did use object snaps. Things like endpoint to endpoint. So, rule of thumb here is that if it's got any drafting errors, don't worry, the program's going to be more than happy to show you where they are. Now, for those of you who may not know, well, what happens if there are way too many drafting errors? Switch to my planning and analysis workspace. In my tools panel of my planning and analysis workspace, there is the, what do I call these red arrows? And he's going to pass down to this guy. He's going to go boom and run down to here, and then he's going to pass over here and run down there. Boom. Sorry. It's having a John Madden moment. You can use the drawing cleanup tools if you got too many drafting errors. You can use the drawing cleanup tools. We have a webinar already pre-recorded somewhere on our website that has me talking about the drawing cleanup tools, how to use them, and what they're good for. So please refer to that. So now that I've manually fixed this, I'm going to go back in here, create the topology, and this is something that I love about Map, that a lot of the other programs like plain AutoCAD or even Civil 3D doesn't quite do it like this. Map will remember everything you typed in any one of these dialog boxes. So if I don't get to actually finishing, Map's going to remember the layers that I'm using. It's going to remember the blocks and the centroids that I'm using. It's really polite that way. Now I can hit finish. And I look down here, and sacre bleu, I've got a topology that's built in here, and it's actually created. It tells me how many polygons I've got, how much line work that I've got, etc. If I want to view my topology and what I did, it's now over here. Now, what is a topology? Now, I'm not talking about the definition of a topology, but what is it inside of your AutoCAD drawing? It's extra map information. It's an extra map object database. Object database? You all might remember object data. Okay, so I've got lots of object data tables in there, all for my topology. This means that only people with AutoCAD Map or AutoCAD Civil 3D can see what's going on over here. Somebody with AutoCAD can't see anything. What can I do with my topology? Well, right-click, I can say show the geometry, and you'll notice that everything just changed color. So it's showing me all of the parcels that are actually inside the topology. But those are true parcels. Great. Now that I've got them in there, now what can I do? Where did this start originally? Oh, yeah, I'll tell you where it started. It started with the map export. I think it's some air conditioning in here. Don't break a window.
It's hot.
It's hot in here. I'm going to smash a window here in a moment. And then Stan and I won't be working for CAD1 anymore. Okay, so I'm going to delete the old parcels. And I'm going to create a shapefile with parcels. I'm going to hit OK. Only this time, when I choose polygon, and I have to choose polygon first, instead of trying to grab all those lines, which I already know it's not going to work, right? We've already tried that. The lines aren't closed polygons. It's not going to work. Instead of trying to grab them, I'm coming down here. I'm going to say, hey, I created a polygon topology called Parcels. Please export that instead. I'm going to hit OK. Whoops. Let's try that again.
Yeah, that was the whoops button you hit there. Just
yeah, that was the whoops. What? Parcels. I don't think I have to pick this, but I was goofing around with it, so I might have broke something. You know, it's going to be one of those days because this was working earlier. Okay, and what you should see is the parcel's actually working. Polygon. I don't need to do that. All right, well, what you should see, instead of export did not succeed, you know what? It was succeeding before I installed the service pack. Now I'm wondering whether the service pack broke that. I'm going to try it one more time with a different file format, just so you all can try to see this work. But the good news is
I can't see much good news in this situation.
yeah, and something like this. There we go. There's something going wrong with the shapefile, and I'm going to have to go goof around with that in a moment. But I did export it. As you see here, I did export that to an SDF file. So I do have a GIS format that I just exported. I'll figure out what's going wrong with the shapefile thing here later on, as soon as I hang up with all you all. So I'm going to connect to that, find that SDF file that I just exported, lots. I've also got a backup one called Parcels. But there's the lots that I just exported. And I'm going to add that to my map. And there are all my lots.
It's gotten nicely colorful, too.
It's gotten very colorful and pretty. So now I've got an SDF file. So benefit of the SDF file is that I could import the SDF into Civil 3D and have it try to automatically create parcels for me. Or I could do a bulk copy from this into a shapefile. But the cool thing is that I started with a series of just connected lines or polylines. Some of these, you'll notice, are lines. Some of them are polylines. So I've got a line there. Over here, I've got a polyline. Okay, so some of them are lines. Some of them are polylines. I can, just as long as they're all connected, I can create a topology, basically that intelligent database of parcels, and then I can export that topology out. So if you've got a situation where you've got lots, parcels, you've got easements, you've got anything else, and you need to give them to somebody, this is one of the reasons that we've got topologies. Okay, second reason. Moving on. You've got line work that represents something like a sanitary sewer or a water system with fire hydrants or anything else. Once again, you need to give that to somebody. Excuse me. Once again, you need to give that to somebody, and they want a shape file out of it. Now, I could just export the line work, but I want to make sure that everything's connected and that I can get information out of this. I want to be able to see the network. So Let's create a topology. So I'm going to create a brand new topology. Now this one is a network topology instead of a polygon, which I'll give a name. I tell the program what layer all of my lines are on. If I want it to pick up those nodes, I can, all of those manholes and everything. Now this is a handy little trick to use, but I can tell the program, go ahead and pick up all of my nodes, my manholes, my pumps, my cleanouts, etc. And it's going to use those and add those into the topology. And if I want to, I could tell it to automatically create new nodes where I don't have a manhole or a cleanout or something. Alrighty, no errors. I was going to break something, but I figure you all can figure that out. No errors in this one. 319 links, 320 nodes. Here's my topology. What are the things that you can do with a network topology? Well, the first one is show the geometry. There's everything that went into my topology. That's pretty cool. And just like I did a moment ago, I can start exporting this. So rather than exporting line work and saying, okay, find the right lines on the right layer, I could just tell the program, hey, export the topology. Use it. What other kinds of things can we do? Well, now we're going to start getting into analysis tools. So the analysis that I'm going to want to use is what's called a network analysis. Take a look at the kinds of things that I can do. And this is with AutoCAD Linework, everyone. This is just AutoCAD Polylines, AutoCAD lines. Like I've told you many times before in my presentations using AutoCAD Map, a lot of the stuff that I show you won't work for civil 3D objects. So if you've got civil 3D alignments and civil 3D pipe networks, this won't work. But this will work for plain AutoCAD Linework. So if you've got drawings and you want to do some cool things, like I'm showing you here, what's the shortest path between the 2 points? Okay, so what's my start point? My start point's up here at the top. What's my end point? My end point's down here over towards the right. And it's going to highlight that for me. So it's going to show me the shortest path. And this is all in AutoCAD objects, just lines and polylines. So there's some cool things that you can do with something like this just by using the topology and the analysis tools. But here's a couple of the big ones. Flood trace. If you ever want to make sure that all the line work inside your drawing is actually connected, an example would be, a lot of times people will start with AutoCAD line work, drop it into Civil 3D, and say, okay, I want to build a pipe network out of it. Well, before I do that, I really want to make sure that all my pipes are actually touching, that they're all actually connected. So I'm going to do what's called a flood trace analysis, and I want to start from the dead center of all of my pipes in there. I can tell it how far out I want to go. I'm going to like 500,000 million feet out there. And I'm going to hit finish. And it's going to show me everything that's connected. And if it's not connected, it's green. You know it's got green there?
No, I don't.
Let me help you out there.
Oh, there it is.
Warmer dock.
There it is.
There it is.
There's
so what happened? So this is I like this better than just blindly trying to use drawing cleanup tools to make sure all my lines are connected. Is I like to create a quick topology and then just do a flood trace and say, okay, show me everything that's connected. Oh, wait a minute. What the heck happened here? Why isn't this guy connected? Oh, bad drafting. Not like that's never happened. Oh, I got some bad drafting in there. So great. I've got to clean it up and I've got to fix it. For those of you who may have, and actually let me do my own little quick poll here. Everybody who's listening in, who's got your little go-to webinar panel there, I want you to raise your hand if you ever created topologies in the old days using some of these tools. Raise your hand. And I'm not seeing any hands being raised.
Nope.
Because the reason that I asked that is that what some people would do, if they used to do that, is they could come in here and they would say, no, actually, I need to use these tools to fix my topology. I need to move links. I need to break links. I need to delete links. What I just did was I just moved the endpoint of an AutoCAD line. I just did a grip edit. So what did that do? Anybody who's dealt with topologies is going to complain and they're going to scream. They're going to go, oh my God, Warren, you just broke your topology. Yes, you're right. I just broke my topology. So you know something? I'm just going to delete the bloody thing. Delete the whole thing. Delete the topology. Good heavens. You know why? Because how hard was it for me to create it?
Not hard at all.
Not hard at all. Good answer, Steve.
If I remember right.
There. It still remembers the layers that I'm using. There. It still remembers everything that I'm using. I hit finish. I'm going to come back into my analysis, do my network analysis. Guess what? It still remembers what type of network analysis and how I'm doing things. And, whoops. And. It's going to be one of those days. Okay, so there's my starting point. Oh, minimum resistance. 10 gazillion. And there we go. If I hover over this now and it lights up and it shows me, hey, there's my whole thing. And guess what? All of those lines are now connected. So it was easy enough for me to create the topology. Don't go getting crazy. If you get into any of the old map books and any of the training books you're going to read up on topologies, they will tell you that if you make any changes to the line work, it's really a good idea to change the line work by using these tools right here. I'm going to tell you right now, don't do it. Just use whatever commands you want to change your line work and then delete and recreate the topology. How long did that take me? 10 seconds. It's not a big deal. So now that I've created the topology, I could run right through. So first of all, what is the network topology good for? Well, aside from wowing and amazing your friends by saying, what's the quickest way from up here to down there, or being able to do a flood trace, but the flood trace is cool to show you where you may have breaks in your line work, where I've got errors in my line work. Now that I know I don't have any errors in my line work, what's the second thing that topologies are good for? Using the map export and exporting this into an SDF file that I can import into Civil 3D and tell it, hey, create me a nice Civil 3D pipe network because I know all of my pipes are connected. One more thing, which is just kind of a neat little aside. I'm going to turn off a couple of layers here. One of the other things that topologies are good for, and this is not widely used and I've never understood it. Here I have a series of blocks or points or symbols in my drawing. Now, these represent sanitary manholes, but think they could represent, what else can points represent in a drawing? Well, they could represent fire hydrants. Or they could represent how many landscape people out there. They could represent sprinkler heads. And what I would really like to do is, let's say that these are fire hydrants or sprinkler heads, and I know that for a fire hydrant I've got 250 foot of coverage around each one of these fire hydrants because this is a non-residential area. So I've got 250 foot of coverage around each one of these fire hydrants, and I want to see if there's anywhere inside my city that it's not being covered. Now think about that for something like sprinkler heads. Those of you who do sprinkler coverages, what do? Do you draw circles around each one of them and see where the circles are and try to trim off the circles, et cetera, et cetera? So this is the third use for topology. It's really handy use. Hey, look, there's Johnny.
Back.
He's back. Okay, because this is my office building right down here, and I want to make sure that in my office building right down here or wherever I am, maybe an office building down there, that I've got good, adequate fire coverage. You know what? Maybe I'm just worried about my office, or maybe this is a preliminary setup for a project. We're going to redo a building down here. We're going to tear this big white building out, and we're going to redo it, but we need to make sure that we've got enough fire hydrant coverage in the area. Okay, so that's another thing that topologies are good for. So I'm going to create a new one more. This time I'm going to create a node topology, and I know it looks like you've got chickenpox over here, but it's a node topology. It's just made up of a bunch of points. I'm going to call this one Hydrants. I'm going to call it anything that I want to, but this one I'm going to call Hydrants. I can tell the program I want to select these objects manually, or again, I can select all of them, everything based on a certain layer. So I've got them all selected, my pumps, my manholes, etc. And now I'm just going to hit finish. There's my hydrants topology. Now, showing the geometry, okay, that's kind of goofy. All it's going to do is it's just going to make all the objects in my drawing red, which is not going to do a whole lot for me. Okay, great, they're red. Well, fine. Boring. Okay, but what can I do with this? The analysis, and I can do what's called a buffer analysis. Around each one of my fire hydrants, I want to see the coverage for, let's just do 200 feet. Let's just assume it's 200 feet. Okay, I wanted to highlight it. I wanted to highlight it in red. I wanted to create a new topology and give it a name of coverage so I could see it later on. I could even choose what layer I wanted to work on. Hit finish, and what the program's going to do is quicker than I could have ever done it. It's going to draw a circle of 200-foot radius around each one of those guys. It's going to marry the circles up, and it's going to trim out the areas where I don't, or where they're connecting. So now I can see where I've got coverage and where I don't have coverage. And yeah, this is a polyline, which I can use if I, whoops, I did not mean to hit F1. No, I did not mean to hit F1. How many times have you all done that? So this is a polyline, and I can use that to hatch with, but I can see areas in here, like this guy right here, of, oh my goodness, I don't have any coverage right there, and I may have to pay attention to this. That building that we were going to rip out a little while ago. Okay, notice no coverage in that area, so I better add in some extra fire hydrants. And I think about that for a situation like you're doing a preliminary design or you're doing a discovery where I know where the fire hydrants are. The surveyors have already gone out and shot the fire hydrants, but I need to see where I've got coverage for water lines, for emergency features coming in. Or again, going back to anybody doing landscaping plans. I've got all of the water heads in there, or all the sprinkler heads in there, and I need to find out if I'm going to have any dead areas or what kind of overlap that I've got. So a tool like this, little tiny unknown tool, topologies, can come in really handy. Now for those of you who might be thinking of the sprinkler head scenario, you might be thinking, well, yeah, but I've got Eagle Point. Well, yeah, you don't need it right now. Now all I need is just AutoCAD Map, create a topology, find out where the coverage is, Bob's your uncle, and you're all done.
Now, aside from discussing my genealogy, what can you optimize? I mean, there's a lot of points in there. Let's say you were doing sprinkler heads, and I honestly don't know the answer to this. I'm just curious. Can you optimize and say we've got too many sprinkler heads, or is that just something that is downstream, so to speak?
That would definitely, that's a good question though. That would definitely be something that would be downstream. So if I'm looking at this, there's really no way that I could tell, you know what, I've just got too many in this particular area. Aside from just merging everything to see how they've merged, and they look like a bunch of Mickey Mouse ears. As an example, let's say that these were all fire hydrants, and I'd say, yeah, I've got plenty of coverage, but you know what? I got a bit too much coverage, I think. Mm-hmm. So how would I get rid of some of them? The only real way to optimize them, and that's a really good question, I'm glad you brought that up, is, let me get back in here under, no wait, sorry, if I were going to create it. While I was doing this, you might remember that I'm selecting everything on certain layers. So for those of you who may have things like this and then they have too many in the same area, put them on different layers and build multiple analysis, build multiple topologies off of each layer just to see what does this look like and what does that look like. But that's a very good question, Stan. So topologies, neat little useful tool back when we just had plain AutoCAD drawings, lines, arcs, circles, and text, and we wanted to take our AutoCAD Linework and try to turn it into a GIS. But as I mentioned when we first started out here, using the data connection wizard and the data connection manager, I can connect to GIS data and I can run different analysis off of that. So what does that leave for my old AutoCAD drawings? What can I do with my old AutoCAD drawings, my line work? Well, this is a great tool that you all can use for a lot of different reasons. Big things that you can use it for, parcels, easements, subdivisions, right-of-ways, things like that. I need to get this out, send it out as a shapefile, or be able to clean it up, or import it into Civil 3D, get it from one point to another very quickly. There's not an easy way of doing that unless I create a topology first. The other thing, sanitary sewer or line work or anything else, turn on all of my layers. So water lines, sanitary sewer lines, I want to make sure that they're all connecting. I want to make sure that my line work is clean before I pass it off to somebody. Using the drawing cleanup tools could be a bit cumbersome because I'm not sure that I'm really worried about all of the different kinds of errors. What I really want to do is I really want to make sure that all of my line work is connecting and it's touching. And then lastly, with the points and the blocks and the symbols, is being able to go through and do something like a quick buffer analysis and an overlay. All of these different topologies can be exported. So when you're shoving them out into an SDF file or a shape file, use the topologies rather than trying to grab the line work and saying, oh, I want all the lines on this layer. Oh, I forgot a layer. Oh, I want all the lines on this layer and that layer, but not that layer. And you're driving yourself crazy about what it is you're trying to export. Create a topology out of it. And just say, okay, AutoCAD, just send the topology away. And then, if you do need to edit any of this, like somebody says, you've got too many fire hydrants in this area, too many sprinklers, best thing to do under administration is just delete the topology and start all over again. While the topology is there, you can get some pretty good and interesting information out of here. If I go to a topology and pick on statistics, okay, this will give me the total length of all of the lines inside the topology. Now, there's another neat tool, and I just came up with this one just off the top of my head, right here. Came up with another tool. How often are you looking for how much line work is on this layer? So I need to know the linear feet of all the water line on a particular layer inside this project. So if I've got just AutoCAD line work, well, there you go. There's all my linear feet. I've got my minimums, my maximums. It's telling me my short ones. It's telling me the long ones, etc. What kind of stuff can I get off of the other one, off of the other topology, off of my parcels? Well, if I go to statistics, what is my total area of all of my parcels? What is my average, my minimum, my maximum? Also, how many polygons, how many parcels do I have? So just by going to the statistics portion of my topologies, I can get a lot of really good information. And I got to stress this because this is the coolest part of all. This is all AutoCAD line work. This isn't Civil 3D intelligent objects. This isn't anything else. This is just AutoCAD lines, arcs, circles, polygons, etc. I can pull a lot of information quickly and easily right through here. And with that, we're going to start to open it up for questions. I know it didn't go too terribly long. I wanted to make sure that I didn't go over an hour or anything for anybody.
If you would have created a PowerPoint, this would have lasted a little longer.
If I'd had a better PowerPoint, I do have an extra couple of slides at the very end while we're waiting for this, but for those of you who have been watching in, if you think of any questions or if you think of any good uses for any of this, definitely pipe up with that because we really do want to hear this. These are some really little-known tools that everybody can use who's got Civil 3D and who's got AutoCAD Map.
Warren, I'm going to make a plug here real quick for next Tuesday and Wednesday. We have our Suites camps. On Tuesday, it's the Building Design Suite Camp, and on Wednesday, it's the Infrastructure Design Suite Camp. These classes are these kind of one-day, oh, I hate the term boot camp, but that's the best thing I can say.
It really is.
Boot camp to really kind of learn the workflow of the complete product that you now own, many of you now own, whether you wanted to or not. And there really are a lot of excellent tools that people don't know about. So come on in if you can. It's $175 for the day, but you'll learn a lot of great tools, a lot of great workflow on how to use these and interlink them. You'll get
here's the
breakfast
big
and
thing.
lunch.
Here's the big thing. Yeah, breakfast and lunch. No beer. Okay, no beer. We're not giving that up.
Yeah, well.
But here's the big thing, and the reason that we really wanted to set this up for everyone is that most of you listening on the call and most of our clients, when Autodesk came through with Revit and said, hey, we can upgrade you to a suite for free, and then they did the same thing for Civil 3D. Okay, yes, we all know they jacked that one up really bad. But when they did that with Civil 3D and everybody migrated into a suite, and then you loaded up the suite, and you got these 14 or 15 different icons, and you're going, great, I still just use Civil 3D. What are the rest of these icons good for? That's really what we wanted to do, is we wanted to take a day and introduce you to all of the other products that you've got inside the suites. We're not going to make you an expert at anything, but it's a boot camp. We're going to show you what the products are. We are going to have you do hands-on sessions for a couple of the products that we think are really important. Like for the infrastructure design suite, Brian Haley's going to be showing off InfraWorks, which is one of my favorite programs in the world. And every time we show it to people, they go, oh, that's really cool. I just wish I had that. And guess what? You do. So we're going to show you how to play around with it and how to use it. I'm going to be showing off Raster Design. It's a tool that is now plugged into the infrastructure design suite. A lot of people really don't know what the heck Raster Design is all about. And we haven't had a chance to show it, but it's been around for a number of years. You now have it for free, and it's plugged in. So I'm going to be showing you that. And then we're going to have, yes, I'm sorry to say, the architectural guys in the office are going to have a session, and they're going to be showing you all the cool little architectural tools like Recap and Revit and Navis and all of those other things.
Yeah.
So if you come to our website, CAD-1.com, and you look down here under CAD1 events, you can register for this. It's still plenty of time to register. If you want to learn more about what this is all about, you can come in here to any one of these and click on it, and it will tell you what's going on for the, and you guys aren't interested in that one, for the infrastructure design suite. All right, we're going to have, like Stan said, we're going to have breakfast, we're going to have lunch, we're going to have suites breakdown. What do you have in what suite? We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about some of the new features in the software. And then we're going to have 3 different sessions. The different sessions, we're going to be showing off InfraWorks. I'm going to be showing off Raster Design, and then a handful of the other products like Navis and Revit and 3ds Max.
So that gave Wayne time to think up a good question here. What kind of attributes can be attached to a shapefile generated from topology?
I'm glad he said that, because remember when we created the topology, I told the program take all of the topology information and put it in on these objects, and the same thing, the same rule applies for the sanitary sewer system. Take the topology and plug it in as object data. As object data, okay, so if you look at one of my lines here, I've got some basic object data here that I've already plugged in, but the program will automatically plug in the rest of this object data in here. And it's going to be a little bit different for node topologies as opposed to line topologies as opposed to polygon topologies. So you're going to have a little bit of extra information. The resistances are just the length of the lines and a couple other things. The cool thing is that for those of you who want to send out extra information, when you build a topology, well, there's nothing stopping you from, where's my map setup, from coming in here and editing the topologies and adding in your own attributes. So there's my, well, let me see, topology, link, sanitary. There's my topology, my sanitary topology that was just on those lines, the resistances. So as you see there, I've got all of this information, and I can plug all of that in. Now, you're not going to be able to add information to it because topologies are kind of locked down, but you can see what's going on with that data, and you can edit it using your properties. So very good question.
Let me ask you, Warren, and this is one that I'm curious about because I absolutely think InfraWorks is one of the best products Autodesk has come up with in a long, long time. And what I want to know is, can some of these topologies be generated out of map and then, say, used in InfraWorks somehow, because InfraWorks is a very good data aggregation tool.
Oh yeah, and that's another good point, is that, you know, what the things that I was showing here, the main reason I like topologies is mostly for the export, and especially when we're talking about exporting polygons or the open polygons. But for any one of these, when I create a topology and I export it to an SDF file, that SDF file, once I attach it, which I did here, and once I've attached that SDF file, I've got attributes attached to each one of these features that I can now go back in and I can start modifying those attributes. And for this one, it's in the node. Oh, stop it. Map feature. Okay, so I've got attributes that I can start to apply and plug in. I can apply it to the nodes, or I can apply those attributes to the polygons. So how do you edit the attributes? Well, I've already done a webinar that talks about that, and it's using the schema editor. But once I've taken that topology and exported it out into an SDF file, I can use the schema editor and just start adding attributes, building onto it, and then I can take that SDF file and link it inside of something like InfraWorks and start building my map. So it's a great place to start. It makes sure that your data is clean. It makes sure that you're able to export it and able to use it very quickly and easily.
All right, so we're going to wait just a couple more minutes. If anybody has any additional questions, let us know. But otherwise, here's our usual CAD1 page. Join us on Facebook. We have a pretty active Facebook community anymore, and our Twitter community. I want to put in a real plug for Brian Haley, Brian J. Haley PE's Civil 3D Plus WordPress blog. A lot of good information on there. You can connect to it through the CAD1 website or by going to that address as it's seen there. And you can follow CAD1 just throughout the universe.
The universe and the blogosphere. And another quick, speaking of Brian Haley, another quick shameless plug for Brian. For those of you thinking going out to Autodesk University, Brian Haley will be teaching classes again at Autodesk University this year. So take a little bit of time, look him up. He's going to be teaching a class on pressure networks. I know that's one of them. And I can't remember what his second class is. I feel real bad now. I can't remember what his second class is, but he's going to be teaching some classes out there. All of our tech crew, as usual, are going to be out at Autodesk University this year. So if you find yourself out there during one of the evening events where we're out in the exhibitor area, we're all going to be wearing the CAD1 shirts. Come by, say hi, and buy us a beer. I know they're all free, but say hi and chat with us, and we'd really like to talk to you.
So it doesn't look like we have any other questions. Hope you enjoyed today's webinar, and we will see you in the very near future. Thank you very much.